The regular meeting, of the Board of Education, the Perry Local School District is called to order at 5:45 p.m. at the Starbucks Center Conference Room. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Foley,
Here.
Mr. Leidig here, Mr. Roberts is not here, Mrs. Metzger,
Here.
Mr. Welch is not here.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Dr. Johnson, something in the spotlight on. whatever
Sure,
the
we'll
spotlight.
shoot right to B staff recognition and we're very excited to pull everybody in this summer to take a moment to commend one of our outstanding staff members. And so if TJ Rocco would like to come on up and the presentation, that'd be great.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Thank you to the board. Yeah, we wanted to take this opportunity to recognize our strength and conditioning coach, Mr. Mike Christinger. He's done an outstanding job since he started with us in 2014. We've seen quite a transformation in our strength and conditioning program. We want to thank the board, Dr. Thompson, our staff at the high school, Mr. Porcello, Mr. Niedzwicki, for open mind and how we are training our kids nowadays. And we're lucky to have one of the best, and we'll talk about that in a second, and Coach Christinger. But he has led a transformation of our overall our strength and conditioning program, as well as the room that we train in. So again, thanks to the board, our booster club for working hand in hand and that transformation a few years ago. And it's led to great things. But since Coach Christinger started with us in 2014, we've really seen the level of our student athlete increase in their athletic ability, and their speed, their strength, their conditioning, et cetera. And it's led to great deal of success on the field of play. Numerous CBC championships, district championships, regional championships, Final Four appearances, things that have never been done in the history of Perry athletics. And a lot of it obviously attributed to our athletes and our coaches and all these things. But without Coach Christinger, I can tell you we would not be there. And he was recently awarded, I was at his award ceremony last week in Chicago, the 2023 National Strength Coach of the Year Award through the NHS-SCA. And we'd like to call him up here to be recognized this evening. So I'll repeat, National Strength Coach of the Year.
Now, from what I hear is we wanted to really see the hardware.
Yeah, where is that?
I didn't bring it.
Oh, man, so that was gonna be the photo op, so we're gonna have to redo that, because we get your face a lot, but
Yeah.
how many years you been here?
Eight.
8 years ago, so, I remember that final interview when we
Oh, I
came
remember
in.
that interview too.
Yeah.
Now, one question that stuck to me, why should I hire you? That's a good answer, I thought.
Yeah. We challenged you and you have not disappointed. And again, our kids and our entire community and on behalf of the board, we thank you for your consistent work and keep it going. And we'll see where this thing goes. So we really do appreciate your time and all the work that you do. So take care.
Thank you.
You should see the belt. You got a WWE belt. So we'll get that going.
1, 2, 3, one more, 1, 2, 3. Love it, thanks.
Yeah, if you could bring that in.
I'm trying to say thanks to the community, our coaches who I get to work with every day are amazing. Our administration, Mr. Purcell, give a shout out in Chicago, Mr. Niedzwicki for your support and what we do every day. And to the school board and Dr. Thompson, of course, and our boosters, because none of this is possible without everybody's support. I know I'm extremely lucky here to have what I have and the students I get to work with every day. So I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
We'll take it right to our student athlete recognition. More stellar record performances that we got to experience this spring. And so Mr. Rockwell, if you want to come up and
This is always a fun one. Anytime we get to recognize a state champion, it is a great day to be a Perry Pirate. That's what we're here to do this evening. Brady Richards is a state champion of 300 hurdles, Division II state track. was really on the cusp of becoming a two-time state champion, the state meet. His pole unfortunately broke on him. I saw that video. That was a little crazy. Glad he landed safely. And, but he came back strong in the 300 hurdles, to win going away. So, we want to congratulate Braden and our entire, track coaching staff. That's Coach Richards, Coach Sarvis, Coach Thomas, Double Thomas, and Coach Phillip. We've got some awards to give out. I'll call up Coach Richards, and he can call up Braden, say a few words, and we'll present them with their certificates. Coach Richards.
Right, yeah, like, Mr. Rockwell said, we had some, fireworks down there, during the pole vault. I finished third down the pole vault down there with the broken pole. Thought he could have went a little bit higher, but, that was how it fell. But he came back really, really strong in the 300 hurdles. I ended up qualifying later after he broke his pole the first day. Came back and had a hard fought race in the 300 hurdles, to take the title. It was all the way close down the stretch. Ended up breaking the school record that belonged to his brother in the process. And needed every bit of it in order to win the state championship. So, a couple other things about Braden. He holds 5 of our school records. At the moment, we actually he qualified and went to Adidas Nationals last weekend down in Greensboro, North Carolina. He's also a national champion in the decathlon. Keep everybody's butt down there. So. Some unbelievable things that he's accomplished, but he's been putting a lot of work in since he was little, and it's great to see the payoff coming through. Might be a little bit attributed here to Mike, since we're talking about Mike, but we do have 8 state champions in track since 2016. About the time you showed up. Just saying. So anyway, I just want to congratulate Braden on his unbelievable season that he's had this year. Best thing about it is we have him for one more year. So congratulations.
Your thoughts is here from the Perry Village. I think you have some things to present or some words of wisdom.
I gotta follow up both to you guys. So on behalf of Perry Village, Mayor Gesick Council and the community of Perry Village, we want to present to you a proclamation of appreciation. I won't read all of it. I'll let you read it on your own and with your parents and stuff like that. But echoing everything that your coach and strength conditioning, TJ all kind of mentioned as well. Dedication. This didn't happen overnight. So I think that's extremely impressive. Council but agrees with me as well, the mayor as well, that this didn't happen overnight. So the dedication, not only from yourself, but your family. And I'm pretty sure that Thanksgiving dinner this year is going to be a little difficult for you when you guys are asking the soft. So congratulations. We're very, very proud of you. And we look forward to kind of repeat performance next year.
All right. No one was able to make it from the township, but they did drop off a resolution from Perry Township in your honor. Thank you very much. And on behalf of the Board of Education, the school district, and the entire community, we just want to thank you for your hard work and representing us at such a high level. We so appreciate it, and we've enjoyed watching your growth. And it's true, we're so happy we get to see it for one more year. Thank you so much for all. Keep up the good work and.
Good morning, work.
One, two, three, one more, 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Congratulations. Thank you, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Toss, for your presentation. Thank you, coaches. Congratulations for you, track coach. So we're gonna, if any of you that came for this special event would like to exit, you're more than welcome to do so. We don't have anything exciting unless you want to stay for the board meeting. You're welcome to do that too.
That is awesome.
We're gonna continue with our regular meeting.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
feel really awkward in front row. so I'm just gonna-
Congratulations.
You get to pick one.
We'll see it.
No meeting judging.
So
You
those
can-
of you-
It's like, you can leave now or.
See that here? Right.
Yeah, once you make a decision to stay, we're shutting the door. So you're in.
Video.
All right, committee reports. I do have one. Nobody else. All right, so I went to the Perry Governmental Affairs meeting, the forum on June 12th. Some good news, they are submitting the proposal for the nuclear power plant to renew their license to continue to operate for another 20 years, and I believe they even mentioned another 20 year after that, so the goal would be 40 more years. Comes through. The fireworks are, they are planning fireworks for Fall Festival again this year. And there's a new fireworks storefront on Niagara Street. Anybody's familiar with that? A new fireworks company is in Perry now. The concert series in Perry starts on July 5th. The Chase Bank area that's on Route 20 that's been in question is a used car lot. That was at the meeting for all that discussed. There is a new police chief, Chief Williams. We'll soon be tearing down some barns that are on the Champion Farms. Maple Street is set to be paved next summer, so it's not going to impact anything this school year. Let's see. I don't think there's a family day. Oh, family day at the nuclear power plant. From Energy Harbor, which is now Vistra. There is going to be family day, July 22nd. From 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we want to make sure we spread that word out there for the community too, for people to take their kids there. Very interesting event. And then the library was there, also gave an update and talked about, if anybody's familiar with this, they have not just books that you can check out, but actual different various items. So if you wanted to go check out a metal detector, you can actually check out a metal detector for a period of 3 weeks. You can use a metal detector. They have also some Wi-Fi units you can check out. If you're going on vacation and you need a traveling temporary Wi-Fi, you can check that out too. So I thought the library had some neat things I learned about too that I didn't know that night. So encourage people to go to their website or stop in and see what they have that you can check out. Very neat, unique items that maybe you don't need long-term, but you don't want to purchase, but just thought that was kind of some interesting information. The next governmental affairs forum meeting is September 18th. A couple months away yet. That's all I have for my committee updates. No one else does, then we will move to administrative updates. Dr. Thompson.
I don't have really anything tonight, other than I hope everyone's having a nice relaxing summer. I think we're pretty much set for staffing. We do have a couple resignations tonight in some of the classified areas that we'll be sure to try to fill, but I think we're pretty close to being ready to go, and hard to believe it's going to be July 1st here, and our retreat is scheduled for July 12th to the 15th, where we'll put it all together and hit the ground running. So, looking forward to getting back at it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Do we have anyone for public participation? No, okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, we only have 2 items this evening to approve. One is letter B, the donations, and letter C, which is disposal of obsolete and outdated items. We have a motion to approve. So moved.
Thank
Thank you. Any discussion?
I have a question about the books. So the ones that aren't falling apart, that we're just not using anymore. Now, I don't even know where this group came from. Like the link is English office book disposal. So I don't know where that list came from. But is that, does that mean they're out of our library, or are these just classroom books, or?
So English office would be the department, when they use for classroom readings.
Yes.
So they just don't use like the outsiders anymore or anything like that, or?
A lot of times, so recently, because we've had a lot of movement at the high school, we clean stuff out, so we looked at the last time it was used. And usually they keep things updated, and either they're worn out or they're not using them anymore in the curriculum.
Okay. Is that just like the overall English department or, because I think they used it this past year in 8th grade.
Yeah, I'm unsure of that.
I know they did.
I like the
Yeah.
number of books that we have like 10 that we never use because we never hit that number of books.
The ones at the high school, and I can just speak to this because I taught there for a little while and they were really old. Like they were like yellowed. and
Okay.
So the stuff that they got rid of out of the English office were things that were on those shelves for a long time.
But
Okay,
that doesn't necessarily mean we're not using that book anymore. We're just
No.
not using
oh,
that particular, yeah.
okay, so I saw that, I saw like the Iliad and the Odyssey, which I know they still do. I saw the Bible. I'm not touching those 6 copies and disposing of those, so that's on whoever, I'm not touching them. So, okay, I was just curious, 'cause I know that some of those we still use, and I just didn't want to get rid of them all. If they were still gonna need them.
Somebody got damp in there and moldy, if you want to know that.
Yeah. Good to get rid of, damp and moldy. Sounds good, I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Laydick,
Yes,
Mr. Truxbury.
Yes.
Mrs. Foley.
Yes. Do we want to move to the addendum consent agenda where we have one item?
Okay.
So this consent agenda item is approval of personnel. Do I have a motion?
second,
Thank you. Any discussion or question? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Laydick,
yes,
Mrs. Truxbury.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Dr. Thompson.
Okay, a few personnel items, as always, we have the board is asked to approve the individuals noted for the position listed as recommended by the local superintendent, director of special education and building principal. B, personnel, we have a change of position. The board is asked to approve the change of position of the employee noted as recommended by the local superintendent and director of transportation. Under C, personnel reemployment action, the board is asked to approve the corrective action noted below previously approved May 16, 2023, as recommended by the local superintendent. And that's just on contract years. D, personnel approval of change in hours classified. The board is asked to approve the change in hours of the employees listed effective January 9th, 2023, as recommended by the local superintendent and director of food service. E, personnel approval appointment curriculum hours. The board is asked to approve the employment of the individual listed to complete the curriculum work at the rate of pay and for the maximum number of hours indicated as recommended by the local superintendent and assistant superintendent. F, personnel approval of extended time for 2023-24. The board is asked to approve the extended time for the individual listed for the maximum number of days indicated at their daily rate of pay for 2023-24 school year as recommended by the local superintendent and assistant superintendent. G, personnel approval appointment increase in ESY hours. The board is asked to approve the increase in the ESY service hours from 5 to 8 to include planning time, consultation as an extended school year service provider, and add 8 service hours to complete preschool child outcome summary forms for the 2022-23 preschool students as required by the Ohio Department of Education, Division of Early Childhood Education, as recommended by the local superintendent and director of special education. Under H, personnel approval appointment, non-athletic supplemental. The board is asked to approve the individuals listed for the 2023-24 non-athletic supplemental noted as recommended by the local superintendent and building principals. Under I, personnel approval appointment, band booster. The board is asked to approve the individuals listed for the band camp positions indicated as recommended by the local superintendent and building principal. J, personnel reasonable assurance 2023-24. The board is asked to authorize the chief financial officer to issue notice that the Perry Board of Education hereby gives reasonable assurance to the following individuals as and approves that they are to be reemployed for the 2023-24 school year as casual daily substitute employees as recommended by the local superintendent and chief financial officer. A provision of Ohio law permits substitute employees to be eligible for unemployment benefits. This action protects the district from unemployment claims from substitute employees. This concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
second,
I have something.
Yeah.
Can you take me off the list for reasonable assurance? I'm not allowed to be on there. I just saw it. Sorry, I would have called sooner.
Surprise, we need you.
Yeah.
Alright.
Can't even.
Another thing, the Can someone explain what, I see we have three of them, and I think I'm confused on, I think they handle the, live stream, but I'm not 100% on three, video club advisors. On letter H.
The one at the high school does handle the live stream.
Is that, okay, so is that one the James Romeo or is that Moskowitz?
Romeo,
So Moskowitz is completely separate from what Romeo does.
where's Moskowitz at?
Well, not anymore.
Oh, she's not, oh, that's right.
That position.
But there was another one at the high school, or is that,
There's a couple. There's three on this list total. Video.
The other two are from middle and elementary. I don't know what the elementary does. Do you, Mr. Chisholm?
Yeah, we have it's a video club. We run for third and fourth grade. It's like a bi-weekly meeting club. Where they like make videos throughout the school, they take pictures. It's like a club, like a kindness club.
In the elementary.
You know,
How many kids are part of it?
third graders ran the first. We went once a week. I think there were 24 kids. Then the fourth grade ran the second semester. We split them up. I think fourth grade was a slightly bigger number. It's a great club. It's one of the most popular clubs.
So. What do they do again?
The video club.
Yeah,
The
so what does the
Patrol,
advisor do?
She just runs the club. So Holly welcomes the kids in. They come in at 7:30. Holly brings them into her classroom, and then she runs a video club where they learn all about mixed media. They shoot videos, they learn how to edit film, they do stuff with Alan, sometimes they go back into green space, so. They work in conjunction with the newspaper club and do like digital pieces.
Okay,
So it's all about like digital media, making videos, shooting pictures.
so it's the same thing then in the middle school?
Predominantly fixed in sixth grade. We don't have a lot of seventh and eighth graders.
No. That's just, should we leave the title the way it is then or not? Because like the person that's doing, the one at the high school is not doing that same type of work. Is it very different? It sounds like it is. Because the person at the high school that's on here as a video club advisor is doing the live streaming. For our sporting events and events.
Live stream in the last 5, 6, 7 years, all over long we've been doing a live stream, so. There could be a better name for it.
Just to avoid confusion, because then it's like if two of them are club kind of advisors, they're truly advising a club of students.
Remind me, Mr. Miller, we just changed the name of the. What the drill team, the drill team.
Color.
What did we do? Did we just do that in our regular labor management meeting or? We didn't take a board action on that, did we? I didn't think it's.
No, yeah, we took about 2 weeks to talk about it,
Yeah,
just making sure that all the questions.
so we can put that on an agenda and maybe do the same, or maybe call your video club like live streaming.
Live stream advisor.
Yeah,
Live streaming live.
yeah, event advisor or whatever, yeah, live stream event. Yeah, it just would be more clear,
Thank you.
not urgent, just something to think about.
Yeah.
Thank you for the explanation. Anybody else have anything? We're good? Okay.
so can I vote on that with me stricken out?
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Lydic,
Yes.
Mrs. Truster.
Yes.
Okay, we want to move to the addendum.
Yes, I
Right,
have, yes, I have one resignation. My addendum, regular meeting addendum. The board has asked to accept the resignation of the individual noted as recommended by the local superintendent and director of special education. And we did put a couple of non-athletic supplementals that we were still checking on prior to the posting of the original agenda. The board has asked to approve the individuals listed for the 2023 non-athletic supplemental noted as recommended by the local superintendent and the principal. This concludes my superintendent's addendum report.
thank you. Do we have a motion?
So,
And
Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Lydic,
yes.
Mrs. Truster.
Yes.
Mrs. Foley.
Sorry, my screen is slow. Right. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam President. First item I have is the board is asked to approve financial reports for May 2023 as recommended by the Chief Financial Officer. Item 2 under contracts and agreements, the board is asked to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to renew a master electric energy sales agreement with Energy Resources to provide services to an affinity group with the Ohio Schools Council, the Ohio School Board Association, the Ohio Association of Schools Officials, and the Buckeye Association of School Administrators, collectively doing business under the trade name Power for Schools, as recommended by the Chief Financial Officer. This is a consortium of pooling of the energy rates, which is about half the rate that is sold off to the public. Under contracts and agreements, the board is asked to approve an agreement with Education Alternatives for the 23-24 treatment to provide specialized academic and therapy services for special education students, as recommended by the Director of Special Education and Chief Financial Officer. This is more generic and specific to a student as students we send them there. And then there's a depending on services, a list at the last page as to what the rates are going to be. Contracts and agreements into Great. The board is asked to approve the renewal agreement with Into Great predictive index software with 2 design teams, $8,160.30 per support, $1,175 per foundation session, and $4,000 per group for 1 year, as recommended by the local superintendent and Chief Financial Officer. Under approval of expenditures Panorama, the board is asked to approve an expenditure of $17,975 to Panorama Education, as recommended by the Chief Financial Officer and Assistant Superintendent. The use of a multi-tier system of support for students is in response to House Bill 318 and Ohio Revised Code 3319.46. Under approval of expenditure corrective action, and these next couple are, we approved them last month, and then the amounts had varied, so we're putting those in. The board is asked to approve grades 5 to 8 social studies and resource adoption in the amount of $45,333.75 to Teachers Curriculum Institute, as recommended by the Chief Financial Officer and Assistant Superintendent. The purchase will include a 6-year digital license for students and teachers. AMG Lincoln Electric, the board is asked to approve an expenditure to Lincoln Electric Company in the amount of $29,072 for the purchase of welding boots for the Eastern Lake County Welding Lab at Perry High School for the 23-24 school year, as recommended by the local superintendent and assistant superintendent. The purchase is to be funded from the IWIP grant funds, and the quote is attached. Under H, approval of expenditure corrective action, the board is asked to approve an expenditure to air gas in the amount of $32,121.07 for the purchase of welding equipment needed for the Eastern Lake County Welding Lab for Perry High School for the 23-24 school year, as recommended by the local superintendent and assistant superintendent. This purchase will be funded from the IWIP grant funds. Please see the attached quote for purchase details. Approval of appropriations. The board is asked to approve the revised fiscal year 23 and the initial year of fiscal year 24 appropriations listed as recommended by the Chief Financial Officer. This is annual appropriation resolution. If there's any adjustments, we've added those in. What typically increases this time of year, and which did, is some of the federal grants, which we don't have the exact allocation when we start the year. Approval of funds, a transfer of funds. The board is asked to approve the following fund account transfers and advances as recommended by the Chief Financial Officer. All the 500 funds are advances. These are things that we're closing out, and they're all reimbursable grants that we get through the feds, through the state, and that comes in after the school year. Transfer of funds. A, the board is asked to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to transfer any remaining funds from the class of 23 into the class of 25 account after all invoices are paid for fiscal year 23, as well as the amount of $3,431.95 originally transferred to the class of 24 from the class of 22. Be transferred into the class of 25 account, as recommended by the Chief Financial Officer and building principal. And that's all I have on the agenda. What happens is the accounts close out, they pass it on to the subsequent classes for use for their activities, problems, and stuff like that.
Okay. We'll have a motion to approve. What do you want to discuss anything or questions?
I'd like to discuss a little bit about the panorama. We are using it for the multi-tier systems of support. The purchase of it includes everything, correct? But that doesn't necessarily mean we need to use every aspect of what we're purchasing.
No, we choose to utilize two of a multitude of surveys in there, and two are what we have used for the past 4 or 5 years.
Okay,
And we
but-
also talked about some enhancements for the future of elementary.
but there's a way we can hold off on using the elementary specific surveys. And just in a more, I mean, I just don't see the value really in. We test our kids like crazy, and then we're giving them surveys that at an elementary level may not be getting the results we want. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it may not be like, I feel like at the elementary level with our class sizes and the level of the teachers that we have here, they're actually the best line of defense in knowing if our kids need extra help. Like, they know the kids, and I feel like their input is much more valuable than any survey that we can give to the kids at that age level. So with and you know, there's obviously like controversy and things like that. I just feel like it might be beneficial to not put that survey out towards the elementary kids.
So not
Yeah.
the amendments, but not at all. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, so where are the amendments listed in this, in the attachment?
No, in our board update, yes.
I mean, I
So
know
the-
they're in the board.
But
update,
not in what we're approving.
But not what we're approving. So that's where I was just gonna ask is, should we make a statement? That, because my understanding is we would approve it based on the recommendation of that there would not be interfacing for the students and the survey in the elementary level.
Okay, we can understand it.
Is
You
that-
know a
does
lot
that
about
sound-
this legislation, or maybe ideas or anything you would.
Because this is just a tool for us to respond to House Bill 318. This is
Yeah,
just a
it's our
tool to get
benchmark
there, but we
measure.
can use. So like, as we talked, so
Yeah, it's our universal benchmark measure for. It's like the DRA is our universal benchmark measure for reading level. This is our required universal benchmark measure for those specific skill traits.
okay, but when, like we talked last week and we're saying, we can still do all this and achieve what we need to do and still be within the law.
Right, we
Without it
talked
doing
about
this.
flipping the responses, and we also talked about using more developmentally appropriate language at the elementary,
Correct.
and none of this typically occurs until the wellness committee has reviewed and approved. Now, we did meet and review and approve in May with just some subtle language, but absolutely, we can make that decision. We probably want to talk about if we're removing it, why would we pay for those surveys?
That's what I was
That's
asking,
what
like,
we
is
did
it
too.
included in it?
It is. It's
Can you cherry pick an
I
all
would
cart?
meet the universal measurement
I was hoping
requirement.
Mr. Chisholm had some ideas on for the moment. I don't need to put you on the
Amy
spot.
doesn't really care, but
Just the questions in the survey. The questions in the survey were for third grade were really,
So after that discussion, the company showed us what they were doing with the elementary level and making it more developmentally appropriate. So I recommend that we, and correct me if you have some different thinking, that we discussed about reviewing those more appropriate questions. We thought that maybe the elementary student couldn't even understand what was being asked. We also talked about the order, that everything was negative.
Yeah.
So we have the ability per the company on Friday, since our conversation, to change all of that. And in the works nationally is a survey that's more developmental language appropriate for elementary. So maybe the recommendation is to make sure we view those two things that we talked about, the appropriate language, approve it at all. And the order of those responses, which I believe was a request for all grade levels, not just elementary.
but if you don't pay for it, do you have access to the longitudinal data from the past? This is
No,
that, see, so
no,
you need
we
to carry
can't.
that longitudinal data over time. I think that's part required as well.
Yeah, I think if, my concern is like, if they're working on making it more developmentally appropriate, they're piloting, I don't want to start using it until,
Right.
I don't want to be the experimental district with that. Like, I want to see what it's doing before we decide. So we can leave the door open to it, but at this time, think that it's probably until that's, you know, vetted out and made sure to be useful and developmentally appropriate and valuable for the time our kids are taking it, that we wait.
When is the surveys typically first administered?
September and March.
So then you'd have to have board authorization in August. So we come right around in 2 months and
But how can we
Yeah,
come around in
right.
2 months when they're piloting it and we don't know
the results.
My understanding is you'll have the pilots completed, it was a spring, you would have that going into the school year and we could wrestle with that then.
So the survey is to gather what information, what key information
And
do
the
you
child
need?
have, well-being and its sense of belonging, I have your.
Yeah, so the two systems, the one being the survey and the other being the kind of early warning systems. It takes attendance, behavior, grades, and shows you indicators of what you need to provide.
Sure, and that I can
information for.
definitely see,
So the only problem with not administering a survey tool is that the responses from both the teacher survey and the student survey are what drive the behavior indicator. So like at the middle school or potentially at the high school level, the behavior tab gets increased or decreased based on behavior referrals that go through Infinite Campus for like super serious events. You don't have a whole lot of that. The elementary school teachers aren't submitting.
That's not the
Behavior
survey.
stuff.
With that part, we understand it. We
So
agree.
the survey responses are what kind of drive the indicators, and there's 3 or 4 write-in responses that are part of that survey tool that are more powerful pieces. They're the ones where students are indicating like who their connections are, their teacher connections. So what that looks like is, so we get all that information on staff members that have strong connections with students, who's your go-to person. And we will provide teachers with that information, and it helps to then strengthen those relationships. So there's that, and then there's another fill-in answer where students talk about their biggest challenges. And so sometimes you'll see things like, oh, I lost my dog this year. Or sometimes we'll see things, actually a lot of times we'll see things like, I'm getting evicted next week, or my dad lives in another city and I lost my dad, a couple months ago, and we as a school system didn't know it. So those are big
But-
things that happened at that young level.
but even that, like, even down to like, what grade do we start using it?
Third,
Or-
but I think my concern is, Jim, and those are all valid things that we need, the teachers and the staff need that information to help the students, and that makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me, what I'm struggling with, is that I'm looking at these survey questions as an example. And we're saying to a student in 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade in September, how often are you able to pull yourself out of a bad mood? Maybe they had a bad morning or a bad evening, they're answering that question. We aren't asking that question of them again until April. So we're using that data from that question once. And then when everybody around you gets angry, how relaxed can you stay? I mean, those are the, for me, those questions for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And the first choice on there is almost never. That's the first option on every single response.
No, the
So
answer-
that's what I'm struggling with, is that particular piece of Panorama.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
survey. So Nikki's question is, what is it measuring? Very clearly, it's measuring 2 things. One is my well-being as a student and who I am, and also the school I am in right now. So let's start with the well-being. It's sense of belonging. Jim mentioned some of the questions. Do you have a positive adult in your life? Do you have a positive adult at home? The other is emotional regulation. That's that question about how often do I keep myself kind of in check? You said it verbatim. And then a sense of belonging that and the emotional regulation. So that's like me and myself and my wellness. We only take those 3 strands and we monitor in K through 12. There's also one about the school itself. Do people care about me here? And I think you have the survey and you may have the survey in front of you about
Mhm.
the actual culture, which many districts will measure school culture on an annual basis. That's one of our culture pieces as well. But I think to answer your question is, the pilot is complete for the spring. Let's get those results for elementary. Let's get them out in front of us, see what it says, and make this decision before we pick out another survey. So we felt like we did that in September, but if this is the request now, let's do that before the next wellness meeting, and let's not do an elementary survey, if at all. Or look at what the results show and make that decision then.
There's no rush in early fall to get it going. We're not on a quick, August.
I certainly see that all those things are valuable and we want to know those things for kids. I just don't know that a survey is the best way to get that information. At that level, at the young child level, because you're asking them questions that I mean, I know that they're working on making it more developmentally appropriate, but I can't imagine asking my fourth grader those questions and getting a valuable response, regardless of the order of the questions. I mean, now you're just gonna get more positive answers because the positive ones are first.
Right.
Without like the actual human interaction and the teachers that know the kids. Being able to like speak, I mean, the school stuff and who they're connected to and things that might be going on in their lives that they don't share. Like, yeah, we want that information, but there's other ways to get that
The
information.
beauty of being in a small hometown
Yeah,
is that I believe what the data doesn't kind of match what we know about the child because we're intimately involved with the child, we dump it. And we don't just take it verbatim on one survey. We have multiple points of measurement on how a child might be doing. And so I'm sure there are times when the data just doesn't jive with what we know as adults, and we certainly don't act on it when that happens.
Not even in reading levels. We don't.
And so,
Yeah, it's no different than reading or math, you know, there's multiple points and we have the teacher one as well. And so then when we look at that data, we just kind of pull it apart and really look at it as a whole and make sure it actually makes sense. And I would say probably 9 times out of 10, it tells us a lot of what we, to your point, what we already know.
right,
The kids that are screaming for help, they show it.
right,
in
you
those
know
surveys.
that.
And the students who aren't, they really don't. You know, one time out of, you know, probably one time out of 100, which is probably one kid per grade level, something jumps out at us that's unexpected. And we'll travel that road and sometimes find something that we might have missed. But we definitely look at that, you know, with kind of a discerning eye, in you know, contrast to other data that we have on students, and don't just throw interventions at kids that, you know, it really is.
No, I mean, I just trust in our staff that they're good at their jobs and they know the kids and they know the kids and they know them better than a survey will.
Mhm.
So I don't know that
yeah.
if it's a waste of time to
Well,
do if
there
things
are-
that kids can't understand and they can't give a valuable answer to when we're getting that information
I
elsewhere.
think
There
we've
are
already
a few
established we're
mandated
not doing
items
it
that-
elementary as it stands right now.
Okay,
I think we've established that.
There are a few mandated things that come from the state that some
Right.
of us have some opinions about that can tend to be more of a compliance issue, but we are state funded and we do comply with all, you know, the step up to quality, all the things that we have to do, and they're not funded typically, but
Well,
so,
they don't tell us what tool we have to use. They just say that we have to follow the law.
So
We
we're
can use whatever
doing it
tool
for-
we need to use.
if we're looking up on the
do you
surveys,
know of others?
We had one, but we changed it.
Right. I
We
mean,
changed it.
so are there other options? I mean, I don't know.
Branchman wasn't a survey tool.
It just did academics and reading. It
You
didn't
didn't do the, but did you use a different wellness survey before this?
just this. We've used Panorama for
Only
4 years
Panorama?
and we fed it into branching minds.
It was like a manual.
We've used Panorama since 2020, the surveys.
How, and you mentioned attendance, Jim. I think that's what throws me for a loop because Panorama is not taking attendance for us. Are you referring to if we see an attendance pattern?
No,
That we-
Panorama has a direct connection with Infinite Campus. It speaks to it
So it's
overnight.
pulling, okay,
We're batch feeding overnight. It does it automatically. It's one of the reasons, probably the primary reason we moved from Branching Minds to Panorama was because Branching Minds did not play well with Infinite Campus. So we had to manually move that information over and we had to tell Branching Minds like, hey, this kid right here, he has an attendance problem.
Okay.
In Panorama, it back pulls it every night. And compared to national norms, it tells us like, hey, whoa, this kid, all of a sudden, his attendance is spiking and his grades just dropped. And yet wanted to see.
so it's
and not
watching
only
those
that,
two pieces of
Well, it
all that
watches
data.
that, but it also says, and in the last month, he's been in my office 3 times. I've used it a lot this
Okay.
year to look at. And at that point, have then looked at, is there anything I need to know about, like, anything else that's going on? I think that's when I went personally, from my own perspective, have looked most at, well, this is what the teachers are saying about the kids' behavior and engagement, and this is what the kid is saying.
Mhm.
And at that point, it's really pretty useful because we've gathered the data in a relatively time efficient manner. And it's there for use. The observation, and I know exactly what you're saying about the teacher knowing things better. But it's a very time efficient way to gather data that you might need.
Those explanations you guys just gave have been the most beneficial for me.
And I
Thank
will-
you. That helped clear.
And
Like,
something
I didn't
that's-
realize they talked like that and the data was shared and pulled back and forth.
Yeah, it's one of the big reasons that we made that that shift. And the reason that it works better at the middle school is because they're also getting that batch feed overnight for the behavior referrals. So that'll, you'll see attendance
Okay.
goes down, grades go down, behavior goes up, and then those early warning systems. Well, you just don't gotta get a lot of that to elementary school, but we had a very similar conversation with the teachers about the teacher facing side. They didn't like the questions either. And so we made manual changes to those teacher questions that now reflect savers, which the teachers really respected as just being much more accurate at them getting to tell exactly what they want to tell about a kid.
And we modeled the middle school, I'm sorry, TJ. We modeled the middle school. Right, we modeled it exactly after the elementary. So that kind of information that the teachers were really saying, this is what we really need to see from our kids to know, one, well-being, but also like, these are behaviors that if they're well, they're also gonna do well academically. So it was kind of we modeled that exactly after what the elementary did.
Yeah, so we do like to kind of get in there and look at those questions and make sure they're actually telling us what they want us to be telling them. So they're really important conversations to have. And I completely agree with your thoughts, but third grade is hard to swallow, but it is definitely not too young to be asking kids, are you okay today? Those are hard questions.
I agree. Want to not ask kids that. It's just the format which.
Absolutely, we want to do that. We want to know how kids are. That's part of it too, is that we don't want to rely on this just in September and think that, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Don't need to look at it for 6 more
You
months.
can
That's
try
the
it
other.
in as frequently as you want. There's a daily check-in that just asks that one question, you doing okay today? And that would feed guidance counselor only.
The only problem we run into when we start making these manual changes to these questions is, and I think I brought this up last time, is you lose a little bit of that ability to norm it against national standards. Where I thought that was most powerful when we were in discussions years ago about sense of belonging and the conversation about being new to Perry and being new to the community. And at the same time, we were issuing that survey, and it showed us exactly that. We took demographic surveys on students that were new within the last 12 months, and their sense of us nationally.
Norming, what standards are you referring to?
Norming
Academic standards.
comparatively. So you lose that when you start changing the questions, you lose being able to accurately compare yourself to other rural cities in Ohio or to other larger cities in the nation. And it gives you a good indication of where you sit as a percentage. So it just gives you good reference points about what you really need to work on. And that was the one that stood out a few years back. And so that's where we focused our energy and efforts on interventions. Like, hey, comparatively, there's a problem here. We do have kids that are struggling with a sense of belonging compared to national standards. And so that's where we work focused on putting our energy. So when you start changing the questions, then you can't really compare. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating because if you want to, ask exactly what you want, but then you lose that ability to compare nationally. So you just weigh the pros and
Guidance
cons.
counseling groups, it helps them to know, hey, there's a subset of kids that really need a sense of belonging, like, we gotta pull them in. At lunch, something, at lunch, something, but they're hurting. Nobody, we weren't doing that programming, let's get it started today, kind of thing.
But that being said, when we looked at those, when we were deciding on changing the teacher questions, we just thought it was more important to us that we ask the kids, that we ask the teachers exactly what they want to be telling us about kids. Even if we lose that ability to compare it, we just thought it was missing, it was missing the mark on what we really wanted to be saying. So.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Wait, can you say roll call?
Mrs. Metzger,
Yes.
Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Lady.
Yes.
And then I also have an addendum agenda, a couple items. The first one is the item A, approval of bid air gas. The board is asked to accept the bid for air gas for $208,323.
for supply and delivery of a fume extraction system, 10 welding systems, 10 welding tables, and 10 LED lighting kits for the high school welding lab to be paid for with the IWIP grant, recommended by Chief Financial Officer and Assistant Superintendent. Item 2 is contract agreements for Highland Insurance, Ohio School Plan. The board is asked to approve the policy resolution and renewal of the Highland Insurance Ohio School Plan coverage for liability, violence, auto, property, and pollution insurance at a rate of $170,822. And the CFC individual cyber policy at a rate of $3,860 for a period of July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024, as recommended by the Chief Financial Officer. And then lastly, contract agreements with Cleveland Clinic. The board is asked to approve a tuition agreement with Cleveland Clinic Learner School for Autism for very specialized academic and therapy services for the 23-24 school year for a special education student as deemed necessary by their team, as recommended by the Chief Financial Officer and Director of Special Education. Those are my agenda items.
Your motion,
Second.
any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Trusker.
Yes.
Mrs. Foley.
Yes.
Mr. Lighty.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving on. So we are looking at oops. Unfinished business. One thing I have is the handbook, the handbooks. We originally talked about having them on tonight, and we did not. Because of, I think there was confusion, or maybe they weren't ready. I don't know. We talked about it a year ago, close to a year ago, maybe, about having one district handbook with, if there needs to be a few pages that are specific to a district. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe it's not doable. I don't know. Maybe it's not.
It's done.
It's done.
It's what we submitted.
Okay, so what I saw, what I guess, then I'm confused. So what we saw was a 22-page, I think it was 20-some page district handbook. And then within there, you would link to each building, which was another full handbook, another huge handbook. So it was like we have a district handbook, 3 buildings, and an athletic one. So now we have 5.
And transportation.
And transportation, so it's 6.
Yeah, don't forget that one.
So I think in our vision, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, were you thinking it was just going to be a handbook?
I thought it was going to be, originally, I guess is what I envisioned was, I think what you're saying is a district handbook that kind of covers every building, right? Elementary, middle school, high school. And then, of course, every school is gonna have some things that they're gonna have that's gonna be school specific. So that might be a handful of pages, but not 30.
Address why it's 30.
So that's what I'm saying, maybe it's not.
So everything in the district part is stuff that we have to put in the handbook. We actually, it was a lot longer, but we took a lot of the explanations out when we could, and we put a direct link to title 1 or Title 9. So we used to have 2 or 3 pages on Title 9. We may have a full page on Title 9 now, but the language that's in there was all recommended language for school handbooks based on all of those things that are in there. We probably we were able to reduce 20 or 30 pages out by, I think, in the middle. I haven't really looked at it. It's been about a month, but there's a middle section that we tried to just put hyperlinks. This is what it is. So FERPA, Federal Education Rights Privacy Act, there's a hyperlink. I could, to take you to that information. Or if it was board policy that we were supposed to use, it was a hyperlink to the specific board policy, which that one took me a little while because I was copying and pasting from the top, and we don't do that because it was just sending you to the main page. But I think we had that all figured out.
Is the version you're looking at, does it have all of the stuff crossed out still? Because that really makes, our middle school one, I think, is considerably shorter.
Oh, yeah, there were.
Yeah,
Because
and I
every-
did say I was like, strike
There
those.
were 2 versions available, so there's one that has all of the old language
stricken out with colors and highlights. And then we also gave Gina the version, a clean version, an edited version, which is significantly fewer pages.
I didn't give you that. 'cause
No.
You would always
Right.
ask for the ones, because you
We-
want to be able to see the change.
Yeah, we wanted to see what the changes were. So, which we did ask for, so that was good, and that was accurate. I just think it was just. I think what we envisioned, maybe what we envisioned isn't possible,
Yeah, maybe. I
because we
just
still
like
really have them 16 books,
There is-
individual.
to think so
Right.
people will actually read it.
And so, I mean, I guess,
We added the athletic was never part of this. But we figured if we're gonna just do one thing, then we'll put all of everything that they need in that document via hyperlinks. And so, you know, the full transportation handbook was actually just duplicated in every single school's handbook. We took those out, we put them into its own thing. The athletic handbook, which I think is being revised or has been revised, we put a live link in for that. That has never been part of those handbooks either, and so we figured we'll have the high school, middle school, elementary school athletic handbook, and then the transportation one, so that all they need to do is go into one place. They can
Let
find
me,
everything.
let me ask you guys this, to the. More user friendly now, the way it is, than having what we had before with the 3, 4, or 5, whatever individual. Books,
Yeah, we're not,
does it make sense to you guys?
so
or-
we only print a handful of copies now. I would say if we were sending these off for printing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know that I would necessarily do it that way, but you know, if this is gonna be just
Yeah,
links to
links.
the district website, here is the district handbook. Contained within that, and maybe we put a description on the first page. All of the, you know, handbooks, or I haven't looked at it since I submitted it. But
Do you meet the annual reporting requirements if you keep the district handbook separate from your handbook, middle school handbook, or do they have to be published in a way that is in front of folks? Because those annual requirements.
The way that they recommended it to us is that every one of our building handbooks should have
Right, yeah.
stuff like Title IX and
Yes.
FERPA and like that should be.
So it's impossible to do.
so it's impossible, we were talking about last year.
Unless they have one
I mean, that's what I was trying to achieve, was a single thing that
And then-
had hyperlinks out where.
So if you're a middle
to-
school
to
student, you
go
go
out.
here, if you're a high school.
Right,
student,
because
Right.
if you have a kid in different buildings, the rules are basically the same. Like the handbook basically is saying the same thing, except for a few
And
things.
if you click on those links, that's what you'll see are we tried to keep the language the same because we knew that was
Yeah.
bothersome too,
I think-
that.
Yeah, that actually clears it up. You have to have this in every handbook. You can't just have one district wide and then some little addendums or amendments.
So you're
to-
allowed to do that,
Yeah, and that's,
and you don't have to repeat that Title IX stuff.
So like,
You could say it's a K-12 handbook,
Yeah, that's what we
you
did.
can do that.
So that, all that stuff that's in the district part
yeah,
has been pulled out of all of the individual school ones.
but some of the other stuff, like, I mean, I guess your behavioral stuff and your code of conduct or whatever. You know, a lot of those are very similar. And so they have to be in every single one. They couldn't just be in a district one. You see what I'm trying to say? I mean, am I saying this?
Yes, no, you're
Maybe,
right.
maybe this is step one in the process, and
Okay.
maybe step two will be now taking all those codes of conduct and looking how they align and making sure there's nothing overlapping, and then just making one cohesive one. There are,
Because I think even.
Well,
in
they
the-
should be
The
all the
only
same.
drawback I would say is that, you know, I think the high school and middle school are fairly closely aligned.
Right,
You might have elementary parents who might like just lose it if they see, because, you know, there's a lot of like, you know, the consequence might be up to like 10 days out of school suspension with the recommendation for expulsion. That's probably, I
It's a
don't know
motivator
if
for
that.
them. Not-
Actually, physical event to suspend at elementary school. Right, isn't there a recent Ohio revised code that in order to suspend somebody for a certain period of time, it's gotta be it has to be a violent physical altercation. So you would have,
pre-K 3.
okay, so pre-K 3, you'd have different standards on how we're gonna handle a fight versus what would happen in
Yeah, if
second grade.
there was one cohesive pre-K 12 code of conduct, you would definitely see a lot of age appropriate stuff at per consequence level, because it does vary significantly.
And that would be where the extra, for, what discipline is in for elementary, click this link, and it's only gonna be one page.
But that basically just takes apart the handbook, because what else do you have besides like the
Right.
discipline, it's already the academics are different between
So-
grade
It's a big-
levels,
pretty big-
so,
pretty big chunk.
yeah.
So the lawyers, so we sat in on a handbook, actually.
Good
handbook workshop, and
The whole weekend.
the attorney was fairly specific that you want to make your code of conduct ambiguous enough to allow the school to do what it needs to do, but specific enough to cover every possible event.
That's easy.
If that makes sense. Because if you don't have handbook language, if it goes to due process beyond the district into the courts, you find yourself getting in the.
Oh, yeah, you don't wanna put yourself.
So we're told to
I
simplify
get it.
things, basically.
We try,
Yeah.
we try every year to like bring alignment, wording and all that stuff. I mean, when we first got here, the high school handbook was 70 some pages. We had the long. So we would send out the agenda and they said, this is bigger than any other school in the country.
And we used to print it.
And we printed it for
That's
every year.
people that printed the agendas.
I printed all of them.
Yeah,
I
the code of
got
conduct
I
in
got
our
it all
time
written
here
up, marked
has
up.
been, most event, I would say just about every event we've come through our code of conduct. It's fallen somewhere under that umbrella, so
Yeah.
I feel confident that our code of conduct is in a good place and the consequences are
And the word
where we
matches
need them to
better.
be,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it's not questioning, I
No.
don't, for me, I don't have questions on the content, things are working relatively smoothly, so
Right.
obviously it's working, but it's just a matter of. How do we make it so people will actually like
Read it.
read it or refer to it occasionally, so it's not a surprise when your kid is suspended in high school for getting in a fight, like, cause it's right there.
I almost think that part is really nice to know as a sixth grade parent, what you have to look forward to, right? Whether it's sports or athletics, what are the expectations when I get to high school, middle school, whatever. So it's kind of nice to have that continuum in advance,
Mhm.
if you're a forward thinker and you want to read and know what's coming. But I'm trying to
And I
understand.
know a lot of parents like the handbook because they can say like, well, I would love to let you wear shorts on this day, but we can't because it's in the handbook,
Right.
so. Not that that's one of the things.
Wait till you get to this grade, then you can drive.
Share the edited version.
Okay,
So where do we go from here? I don't know, maybe if you shared that, should we read
look
through
at that
that?
understanding of what we
Yeah.
have now. and what's
You can look at the
required.
two of them, and if you feel like. I mean, there, obviously, this was just the first go. I mean,
Yeah.
We've been working on it for quite a while, but. I haven't looked at it in a month. I feel like we're kind of in a good place. We're in a better place than we have been in the past. But yeah, I mean, we're always open to editing ideas.
Suggestions.
And that's-
based on-
No, so we're, as long as, I think as long as the board approves the handbook prior to the start of school, we're in an okay spot. There is a disclaimer in there, I think we added a year or two ago that allows the district to make regular updates to the handbook and the code of conduct. And because this will end up being a live link on the district website. Any changes that the board makes or that the district comes in as well, this is something we never thought we'd have to experience when we put language in. That'll be a live link, and so it's an automatic, we don't have to go and reprint. And things like that, so
Okay.
July or August, that would be up to.
Yeah, I'll look at the complete version. That's fine. Yeah, I compare some all my notes that I have now. I got plenty.
I'm sorry, you didn't have access to what's out.
I know, you can get access to the one, so, yeah.
Mr. Porcello, do you have something you need to share?
Yeah, we like to laugh too, I mean.
He's challenging me to find a loophole.
That's a problem.
I'm gonna be a sign, I'm gonna have a sign.
Yeah, put you guys up front next time.
Yeah.
I'm just teasing you. No, we didn't want to make this a difficult task at all, but it just, I thought it was gonna be simple. but
They need to be comprehensive.
Yeah,
They really
for
do.
sure.
And you see it when for people who regularly enter stuff into the events tabs in Infinite Campus, when we're selecting discipline events that
Yeah.
have happened. And we need to regularly and routinely add to those events as things present themselves. You definitely find that they are not simple documents. because we
No.
See a lot of
Do we ever remove some of those events? We've
We've done, we've gone through and done that in Infinite Campus. We've had then gone and tried to align what's in the handbook to the state EMIS codes for discipline. And trust me, we understand like these things were beasts. We've really cut
Sounds like it.
a lot out over the last 13 years, but
But be careful, because that list of annual notices just of what, not, I
yes.
mean, it's what, 5 pages long of, and that's not the notice
Yeah.
itself.
That's
It's
it.
what
Exactly, yeah.
notices you have to put out every
The name of
single year.
I have.
We had 3 posters.
We have
They're still in my
posters
office.
that are in my office, and we were just going check by check to ensure that we had language, and if we couldn't find like what the federal code was or the law, then we looked to board policy and tried to pull it from there so that was available to whomever would go looking for it. And you don't know who's gonna go looking for stuff until, you're getting subpoenaed into a courtroom or a deposition. That's like,
Maybe we should have Karen simplified version.
With emojis.
Just a bullet point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most
Alan,
important thing-
this is where you come in. What are the most searched questions on our website?
Yeah.
That's where we tie Alan in, is what are the most searched on our website, the words or what are people looking for?
Short lane, spaghetti.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the lunch menu?
Yeah,
That's number one, is it?
where's the calendar? Yeah, wait, yeah. So I appreciate
Yeah.
everything you guys have done and all your efforts in condensing it into something more simplified, I guess, so I appreciate that. So Gina, if you send us
That's
Good.
We got
the
it.
cleanup version, then we can just look at that again and then maybe put it on the July.
I'll print it out. and
Or
look
will
at
you
it.
make that recommendation, obviously, if you want us to put it on the July? Okay, thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate it.
so much.
Okay, so that was unfinished business and it sounds finished.
Yep.
New business. For fun. District will be closed July 4th.
This is kind of open.
Okay.
We're running a hybrid system.
Okay, okay.
The front office here will be closed.
Okay.
On the 3rd.
The next board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 18th, at 4:45 here in the Starbucks Center Conference Room. Did anyone show up for public participation? 5:45.
Okay, I'm a shark.
Why didn't we look at me?
I'm looking at you to see if there's any more public participation. Did anybody get it? You need a motion?
We're waiting.
Adjourn. I have a motion. to adjourn.
Don't move.
Second.
Discussion.
Foley,
Roll call.
Mrs.
Yes.
Foley, Mr. Lane.
Yes.
Mr. Trust.
Yes.
Well, you guys are like full in the